To eat or not to eat, that is not the question. What to eat when is the correct one. Eat and get or stay lean, is it even possible? Yes. Not complicated? Yes. Sustainable like forever? Yes. How to lose weight, how to keep the desired weight, and what glucose spikes and insulin have to do with it. You have to eat as if your life depends on it, because it does. Bear with me. In this video, I'm going to use the information from two books, Glucose Revolution by Jessie Inchauspé and Why We Get Sick by Dr. Benjamin Bikman, to share my thoughts on how to throw these two authors' expert knowledge straight into the battle with extra weight, if any, and more importantly, how to keep the desired weight, no yo-yo effect whatsoever. Why am I drawing your attention exactly to these two books? That's because they are complementary to one another, and in tandem, they give us some answers regarding why we gain extra weight and what to do to get back in shape. On the one hand, Dr. Ben explains how our bodies may become insulin resistant and how insulin resistance badly affects our overall health and well-being. On the other hand, Jessie explains how frequent glucose spikes lead to constantly elevated insulin levels, which can have a range of detrimental effects on the body. So what we learn from both authors is that permanently elevated insulin levels, which mostly result from frequent glucose spikes, promote the storage of excess calories as fat, contributing to weight gain and obesity, and they are also associated with inflammation, which is a key factor in the development of chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular issues, and metabolic syndrome. Thus, the main question here is, what is this intricate interplay between frequent glucose spikes and insulin levels? Let's first clarify something. Glucose itself is not the villain in this story. Glucose is the primary source of energy in our body. We eat food, so our body can make glucose from the food we eat, and then that glucose is burned for energy so we can survive. That's why you have to eat as if your life depends on it, because it does. Frequent glucose spikes, though, are another matter. They are quick increases and drops in glucose concentration after eating certain foods, for example, sweet food but not only, and they are harmful. The spikes are harmful. The idea is to flatten our glucose curves to see fewer spikes and improve our health. Our bodies work well when the amount of energy provided is the same as the amount of energy spent or amount of energy needed. When the body receives more glucose than it can use, though, it builds up and a glucose spike happens. Then the pancreas sends a hormone known as insulin into the body in order to store glucose throughout the body and to protect the body. The first place where the body stores the glucose is the liver, which turns glucose into glycogen, and that is good. The second place is our muscles, and that's even better. The problem is that these storage units fill up rather quickly. In the end, the remaining extra glucose turns into fat. That's not so good. Dr. Ben respectively explains that too much insulin too often can make our bodies insulin resistant. Insulin resistance means that the pancreas has to produce more and more insulin to get the job done. The problem is that having high insulin levels makes us more likely to suffer from high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, cancer, infertility, heart disease, and I will spare you a few nastier ones. To be totally honest, glucose spikes aren't the only bad guys that can cause elevated insulin levels. For instance, stress can too. The stress hormones, cortisol and epinephrine, both increase blood glucose and increase insulin resistance. The list in Dr. Ben's book goes on and on. Yet, let's return to what we really can do to flatten our glucose curves, which would mean that our bodies will not need that much insulin, which is good for our health and well-being in the long run. What I know from my experience, before even I had read Jessie's book, is that if you combine foods rich in fiber, such as vegetables, with foods rich in carbs, such as red potatoes, rice, the carbs are absorbed slower and we do not feel hungry for a longer period. And that apparently is a result of the fact that we do not experience a glucose spike. Combining foods rich in protein with foods rich in carbs has a similar effect. Jessie explains that glucose spikes are a result of our food choices and, more importantly, in what order we consume the foods we choose. So Jessie's hack number 1 is that if we eat the foods rich in fiber first, then foods rich in protein and fat second, and the foods rich in carbs and sugars last, whenever it is possible of course, we will experience less glucose spikes. That happens because foods rich in fiber slow down the breakdown and absorption of any other foods taken after them, which flattens our glucose curves. The whole mechanism is explained in the book. Conceptually, hack number 2 is add a green starter to all your meals or whenever possible, meaning have some salad first or green veggies. As for how long before the other food we should eat the green starter, Jessie says that we don't have to wait at all, but if we do wait, to try to keep it less than 2 hours. Otherwise, we will need another green starter. What is a green starter? Any vegetables qualify. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, eggplant, lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, pulses like beans, lentils, peas, and even grilled zucchini and grated carrots. That naturally leads to hack number 4, which is to go savory for breakfast. Choose a salad, meat, eggs, veggies, cheese, omelets, and so on instead of smoothies, cereals, and sweet buns. It kind of makes sense. But what if I want something sweet? Chocolate, cake, chocolate, biscuits, chocolate. Did I mention chocolate? Here comes hack number 6. Pick dessert over a sweet snack. If you want something sweet, we should eat it as a dessert after a meal rather than as a snack on an empty stomach. Now what if I want a snack? Hack number 9 states that if we want a snack, to go savory. Replace sweet snacks with carrots, cucumber or other veggies, combined with some cheese, a slice of ham or peanut butter. These savory snacks will give us steady energy. What else can give us steady energy is explained in hack number 10. Put some clothes on your carbs. Why? Eating carbs on their own leads to a glucose spike because they are absorbed fast. Very soon after the spike, there will be a drop in your glucose level and you will be hungry again and again. That's why when you eat carbs, add fiber, protein and fat to them. For example, you can combine fruit with yogurt or skyr, eggs, cheese, nuts. Skyr. Whenever it is possible, follow hack number 1 and eat carbs last. Unless you want that donut or cake or chocolate right now. Hack number 7. Reach for vinegar before you eat. Deals with this sort of cravings. Jessie says to mix a tall glass of water with a tablespoon of vinegar, preferably apple cider, but any could do, and drink it either less than 20 minutes before or during the course of, or less than 20 minutes after eating a glucose spiking food. Why vinegar? First, because it contains acetic acid, which temporarily inactivates alpha amylase. That's the enzyme in our bodies that turns starchy foods containing carbs into glucose. As a result, sugar and starch are transformed into glucose more slowly, hence no glucose spike. If you remember from hack 1, eat foods in the right order, fiber also has this effect on alpha amylase, which is one of the reasons fiber helps flatten our glucose curves too. Second, once acetic acid gets into the bloodstream, it penetrates our muscles and it encourages our muscles to take glycogen faster than they usually would, which in turn leads to more efficient uptake of glucose, so no glucose spike. Hack number 7 is useful not only when you eat sweet snacks on their own. You can use it before any meal, but in my opinion, having a drink of vinegar very often isn't the best thing to do. A better option is to eat first a green starter containing fiber with some olive oil and vinegar containing acetic acid. That's what I call 2-in-1. Yeah. Note 2 things. First, lemon juice doesn't have the same effect because it contains citric acid. Second, Dr. Ben in chapter 17, The Plan, also supports the idea of having a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with a starchy meal. He goes a bit further, saying that if you take 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in the evening, it will help to control glucose levels the following morning when glucose levels tend to climb. I would not recommend that though. Now, let's jump straight into hack number 8. After you eat, move. Within 70 minutes after a meal, if we exercise or just walk for at least 10 minutes, we will lessen the side effects of whatever we just ate. 70 minutes is around the time when the glucose spike reaches its peak. If you want to hit the gym after a meal, that's going to help even more. Here comes my favorite part. Resistance exercise, weightlifting, has been shown to decrease the glucose spike by up to 30% and the size of further spikes over the following 24 hours by 35%. This means that whenever we train, it's good for us. Wait, it gets even better. When we move, walk, or lift weights, we flatten our glucose curves without increasing our insulin level, just as was the case with vinegar. While usually our muscles need insulin to stash glucose away, if our muscles are currently contracting, they don't need insulin to be able to uptake glucose. That's exactly what Dr. Ben explains in chapter 14 in his book. Exercise takes up glucose into muscles independent of insulin, which lowers insulin levels and improves insulin sensitivity. Bear in mind that resistance training, even twice a week, or 3 times is better, 3 times is even better, increases the muscle mass while running does not. More muscle means more glucose uptake and lower insulin. Now let's get back to Jessie and hack number 3, which I left for last. Stop counting calories. Let's first clarify something. You can't expect to eat, say, 3,000 calories per day, stay at home and do nothing and expect you will not gain weight. This can't happen. And it's not what hack number 3 is about. Jessie says that recent science shows that people who focus on flattening their glucose curves can eat more calories and lose more fat more easily than people who eat fewer calories but do not flatten their glucose curves. This means that we can, without fear, add calories to a meal if the calories come from fiber, protein, or fat, which will help curb the glucose spikes of that meal. Do not forget that when we decrease our glucose levels, our insulin levels come down too. We as well stay full longer without eating snacks, therefore can burn more fat and as a result put on less weight or even lose weight. Ben similarly clarifies in chapter 15, Eat Smart, when limiting calories, which means to eat less and be in a calorie restriction, we have no control over where on the body weight loss occurs. The body will reduce not just fat but also the amount of lean mass, including muscle and bone, which is bad. That's where resistance training comes handy. It keeps metabolically active the muscle tissue, which is necessary for burning fat, and it also helps to build our muscles back. Ben also mentions a very interesting fact regarding our body fat. Unlike our body as a whole, which is slightly more insulin resistant in the morning, our fat tissue is more insulin sensitive in the morning and least sensitive in the evening. Because insulin inhibits fat burning and promotes fat cell growth, eating an insulin spiking meal in the morning can add more fat to our frames compared with eating it in the evening. And here comes the big question: what to eat and when? I've explained my point of view in detail in another video, but I will briefly outline a few things here as well. Let me repeat. You have to eat as if your life depends on it, because it does. My advice is to try to eat 80% clean, 20% dirty. You need a sustainable nutrition plan, not the perfect plan. Not the perfect plan. Cut down on sugar, sunflower oil, soft drinks, processed foods, which are rich in trans fats. Instead, you could try stevia, olive oil, foods rich in omega-3, and supplements with omega-3. Add protein to every meal and whenever it is possible, a green starter with some vinegar in it. As Jessie says, vinegar and exercise will enable you to eat your cake and have health too. Please try to relax. Less stress, less cortisol and epinephrine. Take care of yourself. To sum up, try some of the hacks today and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. If you do something little every day, it will make a difference because what we do daily is what determines our reality. That means our health, our lives are in our own hands. So even if you have never done something yet, it doesn't mean you can never be able to do it. Okay, that was all in this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please comment below. Please like and subscribe if you like the video. Love and hugs, and see you in the next one.